my name is Joe and welcome back to Decoding FNAF. The Mimic. A character you're probably familiar with if you've read through the recent FNAF books, and if you haven't, probably go watch Daco. I think he put a video out on it recently. But to give a brief summary, the Mimic is an animatronic that, well, mimics things. And through a series of events, basically comes to have some control of the whole Pizzaplex. And of course, starts killing people. Well, that part came first, actually. It is also believed by the fandom at large to be the true identity of Burntrap. Some think this means the Pizzaplex books are all canon to the game timeline, and oh boy, that seems pretty likely at this point, but I hope it's not true. If it is, that'll introduce a lot of wild stuff into the game universe, even more so than we already have. Wait till you hear about Frailty. But that's a discussion for another day. Back to Burntrap. Is it the Mimic? I mean, probably. Or it just never existed, which I talk about in this short. But it's important to look at all of the information presented to us and pursue every avenue. So I'm going to cover what we know about Burntrap, how that relates to the Mimic, and what other characters might have a connection to our new big bad. So let's start by discussing everything we know about Burntrap. We know nothing about Burntrap. Well, that's not entirely true, but it's not far off. What we know about Burntrap is that he was being held in a charging station with purple mist inside it. He looks to be a body variant, but with weird fleshy bits. There's purple eyes, and he can remotely control animatronics. Most people's initial assumption would probably be, oh, that's William Afton, but magic now? Which is fair, but let's analyze how those aspects connect to the Mimic. The most notable aspect here is the control of animatronics. The Mimic notably has a certain amount of control of electronics on its own, and at some point did go on to control a lot of the Pizzaplex as a whole, particularly the animatronics. So, you know, that's a pretty good start. But the issue comes with the fleshy bits. Now, the idea for most people who subscribe to this theory, much like you should subscribe to this channel, is that the flesh is either from a young girl the Mimic killed while she was hidden in a suit, or it's actually Scraptrap with good old Willie Afton's body still in there, just being controlled by the Mimic's endo. As for the first option, I don't really see that being the case. The mascot costume Kelly, the girl that was killed, was wearing was a blue dog costume, which doesn't match super well with Burntrap's clear body design. Plus, Kelly was likely crushed by the Mimic, not necessarily having it pilot her body around like a costume, though I suppose we'll have to see. As for Scraptrap, I could see this being the case if not for the designs just not lining up in a way that makes sense. The idea is that the Mimic can expand and contract to fit into any mascot costume, but Burntrap very clearly only has one endoskeleton. Even if we say that the original endo is gone and it's just the Afton remains and the shell that is being piloted by the Mimic, you'd think that there would be some similarities in design between the two bosses, but there's not. Not the arms, the legs, the feet, even the waist. Don't get me wrong, FNAF is pretty notoriously inconsistent with designs of the same animatronics, but if this is supposed to reveal the true identity of the final boss of the game, you have to give us something. So that leaves three options. Either this actually is William, this is the Mimic as Glitchtrap, possessing Scraptrap and trying to pilot what it thinks its true body is, which could be the case, but I'm still pretty iffy on. Or, like I said in my short, Burntrap never existed, being a product of Gregory's imagination, and that's frustrating. Okay, let's take a break from that confusion and look at the other major players in this game. There's Vanessa, clearly someone infected by Glitchtrap, and based on the implication of the Princess Quest ending being canon, later freed by Gregory. We also see, presumably, how Glitchtrap took control of Vanessa with the Vanny mask through how the Mimic interacts with Cassie, implanting a receiver in her so that it could influence her and drive her mad even after she removed the VR headset and then the mask. So Mimic and Glitchtrap, I think we can basically confirm, are the same. with the Mimic likely becoming that way after being exposed in Help Wanted to the stories of all Afton's crimes. So hey, that's one thing, at least. Also still trying to figure out that to Vanessa ending, because really, just what? What? Then there's Gregory, and let's not even touch that right now, and Freddy. Freddy is in a very interesting position. Everything about his inclusion in Ruin serves to confuse things. Sure, him being in Blast without a head is evidence for Princess Quest, but everything else creates a weird uncertainty. He is framed deliberately so you can't miss the word prototype on his foot, which wasn't there in the main game. And his jump scare specifically shoves you into his stomach so you can see that there is a present in there, much like how there was the Faz watch at the beginning of the game. He isn't called by Mixies and thus isn't part of the security network, but also can't be seen or interacted with in the Vanny network, yet it still goes after you when you have the mask off. And then there's the whole thing with Freddy saying, "I am not me" in the sinkhole. If that isn't a suggestion of possession, given the more sci-fi spin here, then what is it? Is he the Mimic? I mean, the Mimic was brought down there to clear the way of old animatronics in the books, or do we just throw out that whole line of dialogue because it was from a non-canon ending? There's just so much going on with Freddy that I feel like could fit together and help explain everything, but I can't quite figure it out. It's really frustrating, honestly. So let's put a pin in that too. Then there's the Blob, or the Tangle as its official name is now. We know it's canon, at least, but beyond that, here's pin number 4. Alright, who else? There's Cassie, but I don't really have enough info on her at the moment. Roxy was able to go against the Mimic, though there's a good chance she was just freed when Mixis was installed. Is that really everyone? Well, there is someone else. They're not a major character in this game, but they've been haunting the narrative both literally and figuratively since that major FNAF World overhaul, and they continue to do so in this DLC. I'm of course talking about Baby. Baby is probably the most prominent character in the franchise aside from William and Charlie. Now, obviously the original Circus Baby's faceplate is in the Tangle, but I'm not talking about that right now. No, I want to talk about the 3 instances where you actually find Baby in the game. Well, technically Plush Baby, but it's creepy enough to count, trust me. The first 2 are collectibles, which is fine, but they have odd descriptions. The standard plush has Cassie asking what it's doing there. And sure, Baby isn't a performer at the Pizzaplex, but neither is Night Marion. And for that, Cassie just described it as a character from the VR game. Plush Baby is the only AR collectible that Cassie questions why it's even around. And Golden Plush Baby just says discontinued. If something is discontinued from Fazbear of all companies, you have to start wondering what the deal is with that. But both of these pale in comparison to the Plush Baby room. There is an Easter egg where you can go into a closet that blocks the Vanny mask and is filled with plush babies and tally marks. Once you look away from the giggling plush babies, they will disappear. In a FNAF game heading more towards sci-fi, this blatantly supernatural occurrence really draws your attention to it and makes you wonder what it means. But then, when I was thinking about Baby, I realized that what the Mimic did throughout this game is basically play for play what Baby or Ennard did in Sister Location. After being trapped underground, it lures someone to come free them by pretending to be their loved one. There's even a scooper ending in this, only this time the player is in the position that Ennard was in Sister Location. Honestly, it's surprising how well it matches up. Baby is the original animatronic that learned to lie and to pretend, to mimic. So what does this mean? Is the Mimic mimicking Baby? Is Elizabeth haunting the Pizzaplex? Is the Mimic just not a thing and it's still just Baby? Okay, probably not that one. Unless But overall, I don't know for sure. What I do know is that the game is telling us that Circus Baby is still an important player in the story. And if there's book truthers watching that say I should let go and forget the Afton family, which I've seen several times online, you know that story Frailty I mentioned earlier? Hey, how's that for some foreshadowing, huh? That story, the first in the Tales from the Pizzaplex series, has basically no connection to the Pizzaplex, but it has a direct connection to the Fazbear Fright story To Be Beautiful, which was the introduction to Eleanor, the book's equivalent to Circus Baby, who takes on the form of a girl that she killed. And in that series, spoilers by the way, Eleanor was the overarching villain of the whole story, having secretly pulled the strings at every turn to cause all the tragedies we'd been reading throughout the series. Feels pretty familiar, huh? Plus, Help Wanted 2 is releasing later this year, and the teaser focuses on Sister Location. I don't know, it just feels very deliberate to me. Great, so we've confirmed that one character is most likely the Mimic taking on a new form, and another is connected to the Mimic, or at least the story current FNAF is trying to tell in a major way. But what about Burntrap? Geez, all the endings except Princess Quest being implied to come from Gregory's imagination makes things really confusing to work out. And then Princess Quest is referenced in the fake reality ending of Ruin. So how canon is that one even? It would be so much easier if all of them could be canon. Wait, comic pages 1 through 8. 5 endings, then the true ending. 5 nights at Freddy's, the 6th night, and the 7th night. GGY, Patient 47, Glitch Trap. 5 games, then the true ending in the 6th. Folks, I have no idea what I'm cooking up, but I think I might be cooking something. So, if you'd like to, stick around till I figure it out. Till then, safe journeys, my friends.